Welcome to Common Sense Investing. My name is Cameron. Thank you for joining me tonight for another Monday evening live stream and me talking about being a microcap investor. Yes, I'll admit to it, even on a day like today. It's been a challenging few days in the stock market, and that is part of what I'm going to talk about today, starting with this slide and starting with this presentation. And as usual, I have a presentation for you. I hope you enjoy it. You could stick around. You could ask questions throughout the presentation. At the end, I'll stick around for some questions and answers or whatever else we want to talk about. But there's a few things that I want to talk about today, that's for sure. And one of those things is that, everyone has the brain power to make money in stocks. Not everyone has the stomach. This is a quote from Peter Lynch. It's always interesting to me when all of these great quotes, people love them when the markets are going very well, and then they completely forget about them when the markets are going very poorly, right? Smash the like, it's tariff free. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I do a terrible job of marketing myself, so I never say in my live streams usually, hey guys, can you give this video a thumbs up? It really helps me in the algorithm. I don't care about the algorithm. I'm just having fun investing in microcaps, but I do appreciate it because it is true. But this is really what I'm talking about, right? Be greedy when others are fearful. Doesn't really apply either. A lot of the times when the market gets bad, people forget about that. They see themselves losing money. And it is tough watching stocks go down, and there is the balance of, protecting capital and investing when times are bad. So this is kind of what I'm talking about today, because there's going to be a lot of negative stuff discussed in this live stream, and I don't want it to appear like I am being negative in this live stream. There is opportunity in volatility, but this is also the time when the markets are volatile, when I feel like a lot of new investors lose a lot of money in stocks, especially microcap stocks, right? Couple things I'm going to talk about, expand on in this video today is that, rising tide floats all boats. Well, what happens when the tide goes out? Everything goes down, right? So tide going out pulls all boats to sea. And that's basically what's happening. I'm going to show you why in today's live stream. And then, of course, on a more positive note, at the end of this presentation, I'll show you a few opportunities in volatility, a few industry sectors that I think the stocks are going down, but I think the industry sector is doing well and the companies are probably still going to do well. So start with some negative and try to turn it into a positive. Speaking about turning some things into a positive, even though, a lot of complaints, especially in 2025, bad market, this is the TSX Venture Exchange, right? This is the downturn we've experienced so far. So the actual negative thing for me, what kind of depresses me right now is that this was our massive bull market in 2024. This is it. This is all we got. This amazing, all these, zoomed up 1,000%, NTG Clarity Networks up 1,000%. How many stocks up 100, 200, 300%? It was due to this little tiny blip in the TSX Venture Exchange. Just using the TSX Venture as an example, because I do invest in a lot of small cap Canadian stocks and microcap stocks on the TSX Venture. And this is the recent downturn. So it's definitely a little bit too early to scream Hail Mary and we should sell all of our stocks compared to, late 2021 and then all through 2022, which was just an absolutely brutal market for microcap stocks. So it's not the end of the world yet, right? iShares Russell 2000 small cap stock showing a similar trend. And the similar kind of depressing part of it was, this was the Russell 2000 going up from the start of COVID into that massive bull run, meme stock, COVID run, whatever you want to call it. But that massive bubble we had in small cap, microcap stocks at the start of COVID, then it went down for a long time until basically it bottomed out in 2023. And again, similar to the TSX Venture, the bull run in small cap Russell 2000 stocks was just 2024. It didn't last too long and it wasn't that extreme. And this is the downturn that they have experienced so far. So again, that's what we're looking at. However, overall, when you look at the Russell 2000, not huge returns, 374%. But what you could see, at least since about the bottom of this is the great financial crisis, right? Basically, this was 2008, 2009. And since that time, it's actually been surprisingly consistently going up. So this was the start of COVID, the start of the COVID crash. This was kind of that recent crash we had in 2022, 2023, where for some reason, mega caps were going up like microcaps, and microcaps were just getting completely ignored. And again, the actual downturn in the market recently, probably thanks to Donald Trump, is just this little blip down right here where it peaked right about there, and now we're sitting right about there. And I kind of wonder, looking at the chart of this graph, is basically, are we not just sitting kind of where we're right supposed to be? Now, unfortunately, when I zoom out, when you zoom out on the Russell 2000, things look pretty good, pretty confident here. When you zoom out on the TSX Venture, it's just ugly. It's changed over the years, and it's never really consistently gone up. In fact, I think you could say the TSX Venture Exchange has been, on a downturn for a long time. And I almost didn't want to pull up this chart here, right? But, this was our bull run in 2024. You could barely see it. And in the history of the TSX Venture, you can't even see the little downturn that we're on here recently. So look, at the end of the day, I'm pretty weird. I do enjoy market downturns. It's weirdly something I enjoy because I tend to like the fact that I do my research and I can find these good companies. And when we get these market downturns, it's a good time to buy for me, right? That's the question. I could buy good companies at cheaper prices than I did during the bull run. So everybody says be greedy when others are fearful, but nobody really follows that. I think the bigger question that we really have to look at is how much for how long, right? That's the bigger question here. If this is what happened, is basically through 2024 and even the early part of 2023, anytime we had a downturn, it didn't last for very long, right? We get a few days where stocks went down, and it was truly a buy the dip moment, because in 2024, it didn't take long and stocks would recover, and everybody who bought the dip was laughing basically and making money. Right now in 2025, is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is it next week? Is it next month? Is it 6 months from now? So I know I'm kind of laughing at it right now, where it's like, okay, I do like market volatility. I do like some downturns, so I could buy some of the best stocks for cheaper. The real question is, and the people that will make the most money moving forward, is when does that change and how do you time it? Because yes, everybody talks about not timing the market. That's generally working for indexed investors, but generally it's not working for microcap investors. You typically need to time the market when you're investing in microcap stocks. Let's see here. My head tells me the US market will crash. My gut tells me to hold the index. Well, and you got to go with your gut, right? A little bit with microcap stocks, and go with your head, stick to your strategy for everything else. So and again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not your financial advisor. I do this on every video, and I truly mean this. I am going to show you a few companies, a few stocks, and a few industry sectors that I'm still bullish on, even on this market downturn. But keep in mind, I don't know anything about you, how much money you're working with, how much experience you have. And this is just a live stream to communicate how I invest and not how to invest, right? I just want to create good communication. So what's going on? Why are we looking at opportunity and volatility these days? Why is the market so bad? And I mean, there's no way around this. Whether you love Donald Trump or hate Donald Trump, I don't care. I'm not a political channel. I'm here to make money, right? And at this point, I'm a stock channel. And yeah, the tariff threat is really starting to wear the markets down, right? Again, today, Trump announced 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. I believe the deadline again is something like March 4th. And yes, this is probably a negotiating tactic. I mostly believe it's a negotiating tactic. And at the end of the day, what they are actually planning are the reciprocal tariffs, and we'll see how much that is and for how long and whether that works and everything else in the future. But in the short term, it's really, really, really hard for companies to plan, for companies to spend money, for companies to execute on what they had intended to do this year when they don't know if tariffs are coming or not. So this has really been the drag on the microcap market. And what's been happening, or what I've been seeing for kind of the first time, is that drag on the microcap market is starting to go upstream to cause larger market downturns, right? It's triggered or trickled down even into the largest companies, where before it was kind of the tariff threat was higher risk companies, microcaps. Now we're looking at announcements like this, right? NVIDIA's to report Q4 earnings Wednesday as tariff export control threats loom. So NVIDIA, $3 trillion market cap stock. All of a sudden, you're starting to see in the news releases relating to NVIDIA discussions about tariffs, the same as I've been reading with all these small cap stocks lately, right? Normally, I don't put Yahoo Finance news on the live stream because most of it is junk. They always try to find excuses, right? I'll read in the morning, markets sink on inflation data. And then by the afternoon, you'll read markets rallying on inflation data. Like they're just changing one word to basically get attention onto Yahoo Finance. But in this case, this describes it pretty well. Again, right? The losing week last week, the narrative is getting worse, right? Once you get a long-term narrative where it's not a buy the dip opportunity, it's not a day here and there where we had a losing day or, a few days that were bad last week. It's actually a losing week. American consumers and businesses are becoming concerned about Trump tariff plans, right? I just talked about this, where there's possibly 25% tariffs coming on Canada and Mexico again. And then again, NVIDIA talking about looming threats of tariffs. So it's really seeped down into every possible bit of the stock market you could find. My father retired from the government of Canada job that he had. And he retired because computers were coming into the government of Canada, right? Computers, newfangled things. Everything was done with paperwork. And it was a scary time. We knew that there was going to be major changes. You're in his job. He'd have to learn something new, a new challenge, a new hurdle that he didn't want to have to deal with. So he had to retire. So it's interesting for me to see like a news article like this, the Imperial Oil CEO to retire in May, capping a 42-year career as industry faces Trump tariff threat. And you wonder if, the CEOs who know a whole hell of a lot more than we do, just know that this is going to be kind of a long-term thing. It's not going away quickly. At least 4 years of, hey, we have this massive change in the markets, massive change in industry and the economy moving forward due to the tariffs. And you know what? Similar to my father retiring, due to computers, that's just another hurdle that people don't want to face. So I think for a lot of people who are looking at tariffs and kind of laughing like this is a negotiating tactic, this is going to be over quickly, it's not necessarily going to work. It is concerning to me when I see decisions like this being made. And again, I have to say, looking through all the news releases, I would say about half of the news releases I read these days discuss tariffs or trade or economic uncertainty in one way, shape, or another. Recently looking at Walmart, this is what it's causing, right? This is what I'm reading more and more, because on my live stream last week, I mentioned kind of what's the cause of the bad week that we were having last week. And a lot of it for me wasn't even tariffs at the time. It was basically companies were reporting earnings and they were talking about their outlook being lower in 2025. And this was Walmart stock tumbling on lower 2025 guidance. So even though this year is good and they reported really good numbers, right? What is it here? Walmart grew top line 5.6%. Profits were up 10% in 2024, but they were guiding for growth between 3 to 4% 2025 and operating income from 3.5 to 5.5. So, operating profits here cut in half. Basically, Walmart calling it right now uncertain times, which is whether you want to talk about tariffs whatever you want to discuss, the changes that are occurring are causing uncertain times for companies. Walmart is saying they don't want to get ahead of their skis here, and so they reduced their guidance. Now, it's not the end of the world. This could be sandbagging a little bit, right? It is uncertain times. That can mean that we get a surprise to the upside, and outlook from Walmart is extremely low, and the stock rallies in 2025. That could happen. But more and more, tariff, trade, all of it, all of the economic problems or hand grenades that are being thrown out there right now are basically causing this kind of narrative, uncertain times, and is causing, some tough times in the stock market. TFI International, this is a Canadian company, right? Past year down 35%. This happened, right? Most of this 35% was down recently. This is a company that provides transportation and logistics services in the United States and Canada. Again, this is no microcap stock, right? $10 billion stock. It was about a, $14, $15 billion stock earlier. But this is what we're seeing happen across the board. And again, tariffs, trade, logistics, uncertain times, and tide is going out a little bit here, right? I think that's pretty clear at this point. The question is, how long is the tide going out for, and how far is it going to go? How bad is it going to get? Now, it wasn't too bad. I saw a lot of this, and, a lot of the better people out there are trying to encourage people to learn how to invest a little bit and maybe be a little opportunistic when times are bad. There's also, comments out there where basically, if you can't handle it, if you're panicking because your stocks are back to where they were 2 weeks ago, you might be better off investing in index funds. This is a little bit true as well. As a microcap investor, you do have to accept some volatility. Doesn't mean you have to accept losing money. You need to have a strategy for protecting your capital in both good times or bad. But I pulled this heat map from pretty much the middle of the day today. It wasn't bad looking at the broad-based markets. They really weren't bad. So, for largely exposed portfolios across broad markets, it wasn't a terrible day. But when you do look at the microcap portfolios, I love the Dave posting this because this was more indicative of what was happening in microcap stocks today, which was a few companies in the green a little bit, and then the rest of the list just totally red, right? So this is what we were seeing with the tide going out. My list, which is all my videos from the beginning of the year, from top microcaps, top nanocaps, top high growth, top underdogs, still have 4 check marks here, which isn't enough. Now, there's a lot of time left in the year, right? We'll see what the rest of the year looks like. Hopefully, it's not this bad, but, a lot of the wins that I had 2 weeks ago are eroding. Sabio Holdings is doing well right now, but Mind Technology is doing well right now. That's a US-based stock. But NTG Clarity Networks was up, I think, 35-40% a little while ago. Enterprise Group, I think, was up 20-25% a little while ago. So Friday and Monday basically killed a bunch of the stocks on this list, unfortunately. And that's just the volatility of microcap stocks because of all these concerns. We really can't determine if we're in a bull market or a bear market. Right now, it's looking a little bit more bearish than bullish. How I'm going to prove or give you some evidence that, it's not necessarily just my stocks, it's across the board, it's the tide going out here, right, is one of the things that you'll see is companies will release good news, and that good news will mean absolutely nothing in their share price. So this isn't even one of my favorite companies. I don't cover it a whole lot, but it still looks like pretty good news for Happy Belly Food Group, entering a 4th province in Canada with a 10-unit area development agreement in the province of Saskatchewan. Yes, I know it's only Saskatchewan, but, great news being released, down 3.5% on the day. Simply Better Brands. Again, this is a company I make fun of a lot because it's a good company, probably a good stock. I just don't like TrueBar, right? But the Wolf of Oakville here pointing out that TrueBar is now being sold in Costco, Canada. This should be pretty huge, right? Pretty big store, pretty big market for a tiny little, what used to be a tiny little product like TrueBar. Doesn't matter. down 4.5% on the day. So another company, another stock, good news, down today, doesn't matter. Some of these stocks, McCoy Global finished up 2% on the day. They released on Friday, insiders were buying back in December. They announced all this good news where they have this new facility for manufacturing in Louisiana, the United States. Bullish. They have earnings coming up. On my last live stream, I talked about how they're presenting at Planet Microcap in Vegas. And still, today, went down to $2.40. People were selling this stock like crazy until somebody stepped in and said, oh, we kind of are forgetting about all this good news, and it actually finished at $2.55 today. But yeah, it crashed to $2.40. So stink bids, anybody? Anybody else throwing some stink bids out there on some of their favorite companies and seeing what bites? Because my gosh, $2.40 for McCoy Global, right? And then earnings, Enwave. This is a bit of a speculative stock. They're at an inflection point. They're producing and selling more of their large rev machines. Their recurring revenue has gone up. Recently, just last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday, the stock went all the way up to 30 cents. They reported first quarter consolidated interim financial results, which were right on par with what we expected, which wasn't much. Nobody had huge expectations for Q1 from Enwave. This is a turnaround stock that's building its recurring revenue and is lumpy depending on when their sales happen with their rev machines, down 20%. So news releases aren't helping. Earnings aren't helping. Nothing is really helping. So I think you can go through a lot of the evidence out there and just say, if I was a company and I had a news release in my back pocket, can you do that? Can you hold off for a few days? Because I don't know if there's good enough news out there right now to move the stock when everybody's just selling and scared. So in all this fear, to close it out on a better note, what is some of the opportunity and volatility, at least in my opinion, or a couple things that I want to look at here? And I do have to plug myself a little bit because, the stocks that I'll be looking at in some of the opportunities and volatility are on my Patreon Discord. You could go check out my website, www.commonsenseinvesting.ca. I have some videos there showing you what I do, a little description of how I invest. Basically teaches you a little bit more about me. And at the end of the day, if you like what you see, it eventually lands you into signing up for the Patreon, and that gives you access to my Discord. And that's where I research and talk about all the stocks. It's not a stock picking platform. I know a lot of people expect that. I consider myself more of a communication platform than anything, but go take a look if you're interested. Some opportunities here, oil and gas still, a little bit. Now, not as much as the next two I'm going to show you because this is a little bit wobbly too with tariffs. We don't know what the tariffs are going to be, especially on Canadian oil and gas. But still, at the end of the day, a lot of administrations in both the United States and in Canada, especially after we get an election in Canada, increasing oil demand moving forward is what was expected. They do expect price stability around oil from $70 to $80. That's where we have been. We haven't seen the price crash. It's been about $70 to $75 per barrel range, right? Potential geopolitical tensions and some other things causing what most people expected was a fairly bullish, mildly bullish year for oil. This is some data pulled from Alberta, Canada, which is Enterprise Group primarily, but new wells drilled are up again. So they had some lows there for a while, especially down here at COVID, but those have been moving up. And there has been some pretty good, I think 18% increase in new wells drilled recently just in Alberta, Canada. So a lot of different areas we need to look at if you're an oil and gas investor, but I'm still relatively mildly bullish on oil for the year. Moving up that list, surprisingly, and even myself personally, I was talking about, I own 3 cannabis stocks right now. Got to move that yellow line there. And I never thought that would happen. But Aurora Cannabis recently, stock jumped over 50% after a record-breaking quarter. JGGCDN here put out some numbers talking about how Canada's retail cannabis sales shot up to their highest levels so far in December, just under $500 million worth, right? 499.7 million, surpassing the previous high of 475 million and exceeding the previous high of 469 million in August of 2023. So cannabis, man, booming. People are ignoring that. Sorry. Cannabis stocks have been relatively selling off. Like some of these stocks that are posted here, Simply Solventless, which was at one point closing in on $1 per share, I think today was selling for 67 cents. High Tide, which at one point was up to, I think, around $5, is sitting today at $3.63, $3.58. I think somebody bought shares for today. Absolutely insane. This is a little Microcap. It has been doing well, but it went from 5 cents to 10 cents, and recently it's back down to 8, right? So all these cannabis stocks have been getting hit. I haven't covered LoveV yet, but this one is a very popular stock recently, especially it was pitched today by Matthew at Rivmont on the X space there with Ian Castle. They had the Woodstock of Microcap investors, and Matthew pitched LoveV, so I should probably go take a look at that. But I mean, in challenging times, cannabis is rocking it, and share price is going down. So we have some pretty good companies out there that are only getting better in a macroeconomic environment that is improving, and share price is going down. The last one here, obviously gold. Gold hit $3,000 per ounce, and this is huge. I mean, this is like a crypto moment for gold, because in the past 5 years, it's up 79%. 45% of that increase has been in the past year. So, I mean, well over half of gold's increase in the past 5 years has happened just recently. And I don't really think the markets have fully adjusted to that yet. I'll talk about that in a minute. But when I look at the price of gold, when I look at the cannabis industry, when I look at the oil and gas industry, I have to think what opportunities are out there in some of these stocks that they're down today, but man, they're not going to stay down forever if this keeps going like this, right? Now, one of the things for my channel, because I know a lot of people like to pitch me stocks, is I do want to make it clear, and this is an article at the Startups Unplugged that you could go check out, and I'll put this down below in the pinned comment to give them some credit. But one of the things that I like doing personally when I look for stocks is selling shovels. So they're talking here in this article, back during the 1849 California gold rush, few prospectors struck it rich. Instead, most of the people who made money back then were those who sold shovels and jeans and tents and pickaxes and other supplies to the prospectors who lived hard lives panning for gold. Guess what? In my opinion, I don't think that has changed yet much, right? Like even today when I'm looking for stocks, I'm probably not going to go chase some junior miner gold stock. I'm not going to chase the gold producers who are out there chasing gold or digging for gold. I'm looking for the companies that are selling the gold companies, the shovels, the jeans, the tents, and the pickaxes, right? Interestingly enough, two of the better known sellers of shovels and promoters of the gold rush were Levi Strauss and Samuel Brannan, owned the general store at Sutter's Mill. So I'm looking for a Levi Strauss or a Sutter's Mill type stock. The other thing that's still mildly bullish and giving us microcap investors some hope that is probably large enough to change the market a little bit, right? We still have the Planet Microcap Showcase coming up in April 22nd to 24th in Las Vegas. So number one, we're heading into earnings season. We're getting there. Starting about mid-March, a lot of microcap stocks are going to start putting out earnings. A lot of them will be putting out full year numbers, audited numbers. A lot of them will be putting out good earnings, I expect. I think we've had a pretty good year. Going into those, taking those earnings and going into Planet Microcap Showcase right now, I think there's 420 investors, I think they said, that are going. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of large money and a lot of good investors. So I think this is going to help turn the tide a little bit. And of course, I'm going through the list of all the companies that are attending that event and trying to figure out the best ones. And of course, I'm doing that all on my Patreon Discord. That's all I have for right now. That's my entire presentation. Hope you enjoyed it. A little bit of opportunity and volatility. And now it's time for me to go see if there's any comments. How's everybody doing? Are you panicking or are you doing okay? Are you buying the dip? Is it a dip? What are we looking at here, right? How long is this going to last and how bad is it going to get? Let's see here. What's stopping a PE firm from coming in and buying ADF Group valuation-wise? It makes sense. Look, at the end of the day right now, I hate to say it, Donald Trump talked about taking over Canada through economic force. When you look at the price of a lot of excellent Canadian companies on the stock market, when you look at the difference between the United States dollar and the Canadian dollar, and you look at how many takeouts we've already had from private equity, buying up these Canadian microcaps, buying up Canadian small caps, buying up Canadian companies, it's happening. And I know people don't want to hear that. But yes, there's nothing stopping right now an American company from coming in and buying up an ADF Group or any other company, Canadian company right now, that's been absolutely kicked in the nuts as far as what they're worth market cap wise, and facing struggles due to tariffs and facing a new hurdle, just like that CEO that just retired. And there's going to be management teams out there that say, I don't want to deal with this. And there's some incoming offers coming in for the business. And I think there's going to be some companies that are seriously looking at some of those offers more than they were in the past, right? If times are good, you're not as likely to sell your company. When times are struggling, man, you got to keep thinking about it, right? Why is Marius slandering you? Well, he's not a very good person, in my opinion, right? His problem is that Marius Konitsky promotes companies. He gets paid to promote companies. A lot of the times, Marius is paid with shares to promote a company. So the only way he makes money is he tricks investors into buying a stock to see the share price go up. And once the share price goes up, he can execute his warrants and make money. So when there's people out there that say, hey, maybe this isn't a good company, maybe this isn't a good stock, and the share price goes down, then he's basically losing his income. So I understand, like when good investors are threatening a company and causes the share price of a company to go down, it costs people money. It does affect their livelihood. Now, I might not like their livelihood. I might not like what they're doing. I'm not a fan of stock promotion, pumping stocks just so somebody can get paid. That's not what I'm about. But at the same time, there's a lot of money in it. And if you're aware of the history of my channel, I was actually canceled on Boxing Day of 2023 because I was exposing too many shitcoins. I was making a lot of videos exposing some of the scams out there on the market, some of the share selling schemes, some of the way insiders pay themselves kind of under the table. And I was showing investors some of the concerns or the warning flags with some of these bad stocks. And it got me canceled because there's a lot of people out there that are making a lot of money doing this, pumping stocks and getting paid. And so when that is being threatened, they will try to stop whatever is threatening them. I think I read this one. My head tells me the US market will crash. My gut tells me to hold the index. I've always held the index. So one of the things that I want to be clear is that I have a separate and distinct microcap stock portfolio. So whether I'm in my Discord or whether I'm on a live stream and I'm talking about this kind of stuff, I'm actually a boglehead investor, right? I hold 3 major indexes with my retirement, basically my net worth. I hold some real estate, I hold some gold, and I hold some major indexes. I'm a very, very, very simple investor. That's why I'm not a stock picker of Tesla. I'm not a stock picker of Nvidia. I'm not out there fighting for these mega cap, large cap stocks because I can't compete against the hedge funds for these large companies. I just buy the index. Where I can compete, where retail investors have a superpower where retail investors should be investing, and they're told not to because the banks don't make any money off you. But retail investors should be investing in microcap stocks. This is where we have the advantage. There's no fund out there devoting 100 times more energy and resources into researching a company than we are right now, because some of these companies have no one researching them. There's been times when I've phoned a CEO and I'm the first investor that's ever called this person, right? This is where we have the advantage. So I hold the index. That's where the majority of my money is held. But microcap stock investing is where I have leverage to make far more than I do in the index, right? No threat of tariffs on peso rema. When's that one getting bought out? That's why it went up, right? A rumor is the dollar store was going to buy them out. That's basically, for people who don't know, this is the dollar store in Mexico, very popular on social media. But yeah, I think they're waiting to get bought out, aren't they? Hello, you made it again. Thank you. HLF going to start to break out to the upside. I don't know what that is, HLF. Short squeeze. Yeah, I'm not a big short squeeze chaser, that's for sure. PFE looking good since earnings. That P to E dropped from 38. I got to pull up my, I don't even know what that is. PFE. What are we looking at here? Pfizer. You're looking at Pfizer. Oof. How big of a market cap is that? 151 million. Billion, sorry, not million. Billion. Yeah, I'm not looking at Pfizer. I don't stock pick larger stocks. I can't compete. And I know that's the problem lately with microcap stocks. And that's what we didn't like to see. When stocks like Tesla and Meta trades like a microcap, when you can double your money in Meta, why would you invest in a microcap stock? It's actually good. If the broader markets struggle for a while due to Donald Trump, it could actually be good for microcap stocks, because what we want to see is more people realize, hey, you know what? These actual large companies, they're supposed to only go up 8% a year, 9% a year. It's not normal for a Meta to go up 100% in a year, right? So if you're looking to double your money, like a lot of investors are, you shouldn't be chasing Meta. You shouldn't be chasing Nvidia. This is typically not normal. What you should be chasing, small caps, microcap stocks. So as these things normalize, as the broader markets kind of return to some kind of normal state again, it could be a good thing for microcaps if you're looking for a positive. Is there gold in Fort Knox? That is the big question. You got to wait until Donald Trump live streams from Fort Knox, and then you could find out. But you might not find out, because people will claim that it's all, CGI, right? I saw somewhere that OML, OmniLight, price to book is 1/3. Seems crazy low. Am I missing something? No, I mean, OmniLight is the exact type of company that I'm looking for. That's why OmniLight was my number one stock on my 5 nanocap stocks for 2025 video. OmniLight is a US company manufacturing goods in the United States in a time where we should be bullish on that if you believe Trump, because he's trying to reshore everything manufacturing back to the United States. OmniLight is sitting there doing just that, and it's not well known by many investors. It's a $20 million market cap, and they had a bad quarter. Their last earnings were not very good because they had a machine breakdown. That's also pretty typical for microcap stocks. One little hiccup, one machine breakdown is a big problem for a microcap stock in a lot of times, right? And that's what happened to OmniLight. Hopefully they recover from that. Hopefully they have some good quarters moving forward. The CEO has said something like 25% growth every year is what he expects. And yeah, I think it's sitting at $1.22 Canadian recently, and I like OmniLight. This is the kind of microcap that I look for, right? Are we still waiting for the big February news from NTG, or did you miss it? We're all still waiting for it. That's why share price is trickling down right now. It's gone down, I think, 5% per day for the last 5 days or something like that. It's the tough thing with microcap stocks. NTG is learning. They have done an absolutely incredible job of communicating with shareholders. They've done some wonderful things, experimenting with that communication, providing guidance, changing guidance. learning what investors are expecting from the company. But you also make mistakes. Nobody bats 1,000, right? Previously, I think NTG made a mistake with their reporting of their cash in Q3 of 2024. Their accounts receivable were high. They didn't explain it in the earnings, and the stock took a nosedive. Later on, they came out and they corrected that, and the stock went up significantly. So they do make mistakes, as a lot of microcap companies make mistakes. I would rather my microcap stocks try and make mistakes than not try at all, though. There's a lot out there that their communication with shareholders are just non-existent. I don't know if this was a mistake or not for NTG Clarity. They did seem to get people very, very excited about this big news coming out in February. Share price did go up significantly, partially on that news. And then it's one of those situations where they have put out some news, but is this big enough news? I don't know. So does NTG Clarity have the ace in their sleeve that we don't know about? I don't know, but in my mind, they haven't released big news yet in February. And given the current conditions, they might want to wait a couple days, right? It's a pretty tough market even when you're releasing good news, as I showed. Thank you. I try to do some good work, so I really appreciate it. Bought Sabio Holdings today. Congratulations. Sabio Holdings, this is a company I brought onto my channel at 25 cents. People thought I was crazy, didn't like the company, didn't like the stock. I was wrong. It went up to 50 cents, right? I showed people Sabio Holdings at 50 cents. People thought it was crazy, didn't like the company, didn't like the stock. And now it's up to, I think it went to 73 cents, something like that, right? So I love sometimes, although it's challenging, again, one of those statements where if you're going to be a microcap investor, basically, I don't know if you've seen that meme where it's basically you sitting there and you're arguing with 1,000 people, telling 1,000 people that they're wrong and you're right. This is kind of what I feel like sometimes with Sabio Holdings. I like Sabio Holdings because they're different from other software online marketing companies because they are in the connected TV ad space. It's a really good niche, and it's being ignored by a lot of people. They're just throwing them in the same boat as a company like Zoomed or Lumen Holdings, and it's not. They're not in the same industry sector. They're a little bit more niche with connected TV ads, and there's a lot more transparency into that sector. Less competition for Sabio Holdings, large total addressable market, and I like it. Now, the company's got some warts. Yes, they have some debt. They got way more debt than, say, a Zoom Technologies, but hopefully they get out the other side of the debt. They are paying that off, and if they can, well, I really like that company, right? Keep an eye out for Roof. They will start the commissioning of their first commercial plant in Calgary in March to be concluded before the end of Q2. Good, great. Get it done. And they are also presenting April 22nd to 24th at Planet Microcap. Really excited about that. If they can get, as much done as possible, as many news releases, as much done on that facility as they could possibly get by April 22nd, and this moves from a highly speculative stock where there's a lot of looking into the future and a lot of projections that are really hard to map out. If they can move that into, they have a few more answers than they do questions around this company, then there's 420 some really intelligent investors that are going to take a look at this company, and it could go up, could go down. I'm going to be watching. And that's one of the interesting things. If you actually pay attention, even if you're not going to Planet Microcap in Vegas, pick your favorite stocks that you're interested in and watch the share price of these stocks from April 22nd, usually about April 21st to about April 25th. Watch your favorite stocks that week, and you will see some stocks will go up, some will go down, some will stay flat. And you can almost gauge how good the company's presentation was to these 400 plus microcap investors based on the share price and the volume and momentum. So I will be keeping an eye out on Roof, not just for their press releases and all the good work they're doing, but how people react to this company in April. Have I got it wrong? Is there something I'm missing, right? In April, when you get 400 other investors looking at these stocks, we're either going to get validation or thrown under the bus, right? So some folks are starting to stress that Kraken has not released guidance and has not been communicating. It's still up 100% from this time last year. Look, I've been talking about this. Yes, I agree with people. Absolutely. I think they should have started stressing a while ago, right? But again, when a stock is at 270, 280, all the way up to $3, it's been good doing nothing but going up. Nobody stresses, everybody parties, nobody has a strategy, nobody considers whether they want to trim a little bit, what the valuation is, whether they want to sell, right? Everybody's just having a great time. I typically say have a strategy and stick to that strategy. One of the things with Kraken Robotics, I've been saying it for a year now, I barely talk about them anymore because they don't communicate with retail investors. They communicate with institutional investors. They are now a discovered stock, and the share price of Kraken Robotics will go to whatever price that those institutions are willing to pay for it. They aren't communicating with us right now, and that's been known for a while. And then you add on top of that a lot of their contracts are sensitive with NDAs, and there's only so much they could talk about. So if you, again, for Kraken Robotics, you have to go look at the Deep Sale Capital, basically the report that was done on Kraken Robotics, where they talk about the low side and the high side of Kraken Robotics. You either agree with what Deep Sale Capital is talking about, basically that they could get a $600 million battery plant with Anduril, and this is going to be a $10 stock or whatever, or you don't. And you think it's about a $3 stock. It depends, but I tend to not listen to people too much when they worry about stocks. It's really about building my own strategy and sticking to my own strategy. Yes, connected ads seems like a neat biz right now. It is. And this is what I'm looking for, right? Like, I am bullish on a lot of these stocks. Like Zoom Technologies has earnings coming up. Eventually, they should have a good quarter. Zoom Technologies right now sitting around 70 cents. That seems a little bit cheap right now. The problem is I look at Zoomed and it's like, I don't know what they do that's so much better than a dozen other companies out there doing the same thing. When you look at when I find an industry niche like connected TV ads, and I can get a little bit more transparency and clarity into where that little niche is going into the future, and then I find a company that's in that little niche and really doesn't have the same competition as some of the other stocks, then I get interested, even though, their balance sheet isn't maybe as perfectly good as, a lot of other companies out there. So what is everybody doing here? Is everybody panicking or is everybody buying? What do you think? That's all the questions right now. So, I can zoom out here just to give people a few last minutes to ask any questions and get caught up. But this is what I'm seeing. Nothing to panic with yet. Basically, the tide's been going out for about a week and a half. It's being caused by Donald Trump and tariffs, mostly economic uncertainty, right? This causes opportunity and volatility, in my opinion. We have moved a little bit from being in the stock pickers market, though, into more of a market where we're sitting here looking at, when is this going to stop? Because it's pretty hard to say it's a stock pickers market when I can look at, there's 25 stocks here right now, and only 4 out of the 25 are really in the green, solidly in the green. So that's a pretty low chance of execution. Even if you're a good stock picker, a pretty low chance you're only going to pick the best stocks. And that really comes down to, us keeping an eye on this and how long, how bad for how long kind of thing, right? Like if this was our bull market in 2024, that's a pretty lame bull market. That isn't a huge uptick. I think we can easily go up like 2024. I think we can easily have another year like 2024 if we can get a good economy, right? And some consistency. The problem is because of the tariffs, and all the economic uncertainty, what's that's causing, and what I tried to show through a company like Walmart is, that's causing problems that we're not seeing all the time. This isn't normal right now. So that's causing people some concern, and a lot of people are selling, right? I've avoided all the ad tech companies. I'm not smart enough to understand the competitive advantages. And at that point, with some of these ad techs, I totally agree with you. I was getting tired there for a while. I swear I went through about 12 stocks. I thought I went through one. They all did the same thing. They all had software that was really kind of competitive with each other. They were all competing for the same kind of companies. Really, at this point, I just go to the numbers, right? Numbers were trending up. Tide was rising. There's a lot of money being spent in ad tech. There's more than enough money to share across a bunch of different companies. Adco was another one. I did a video on Adco. I think they're at 15 cents. They went up to like 45 cents. I don't know what they're at now. I'm going to speak with them again, but basically all the ad techs were going up, right? A lot of money in that industry, and just chasing the industry bubble as it was going up, right? Did I check out BET? I don't know what that one is right now. Let's see here. BET. Man, there's a lot of stocks out there. BET. North Star Gaming. Yeah, don't like it. In my opinion, North Star Gaming is not a good company. So for people who know, North Star Gaming Holdings down 5% today. This is a 9.5 penny stock. I think it's a garbage company, to be honest with you. And I know it's popular. Every live stream, so people ask me, go check out BET. I've checked it out a dozen times, and it's not anything I'm interested in. Cash burning, unprofitable. Maybe they have an inflection point in the future, but I can find better stocks out there, right? Better companies. You're looking for Canadian dips to buy. Well, we've got lots of dips these days. If you're looking for a dip, the question is right now, right? Is it a dip or is this a drawdown? How long is it going to last? How long do the tariff threats last? Do the tariffs kick in? And are we looking at a 6-month down market, a 12-month down market? One of the things that's been hard is that, in 2024, if you go back to that slide that I just showed, again, every buy the dip opportunity was a buy the dip opportunity, and it worked out. But right now you've got to wonder. That might change. Wednesday, Nvidia is reporting earnings. If Nvidia crushes it, great earnings, no worries about tariffs, outlook looks great, market could hustle up again, no problem. Is there 100% chance that happens, that Nvidia has no problems whatsoever, outlook is great, no tariff issues, and earnings are good, all those three things just come in perfect? We'll see, right? But if Nvidia does well on Wednesday, then markets will rally again. So Wednesday is a big day to look at, right? So we'll see. Bit nervous, wondering if I trimmed, took profits enough, put enough to cash or not. Don't get me wrong, still very invested in the market, but my first go-to at investing and meeting now this. Yeah, so personally, like myself, I've got the most cash right now I've had since about late 2021. Typically, build an investing strategy that works for you. The worst thing you could be is nervous, right? Typically, if you build an investing strategy in advance, then you don't have to be that nervous, right? You trust in your strategy, and you're never wrong, because if you're wrong, it's the strategy that's wrong. You learn from it, you change the strategy. If you're right, you learn from it, you change the strategy, and you're always looking at just improving that strategy over time. With every failure, with everything you get right, everything you get wrong, you just keep adding to that strategy. So I don't like it. I don't want you to be nervous. That's why part of the thing I wanted to discuss on this live stream was not only some of the negatives, which I had to talk about because that is what's causing this bad market right now, but I also wanted to talk about some of the positives, right? Oil and gas, gold, and cannabis right now, industry sectors are doing well. And as far as the market as a whole, typically we'll figure it out. It's only been a little while. We've only had that little blip down, and there's a lot more. There's earnings coming up, and there's Planet Microcap. So we've got a couple pretty big catalysts to the bullish side for microcap stocks. We just have to get there, and earnings have to be good. And Microcap Vegas better come prepared with their wallets open, right? That's what we're really counting on, people. Go to Planet Microcap, spend a lot of money on stocks. We need you, right? Cove reported earnings still great. CEO expected strong growth in H2, still holding firmly. Yeah, but see, that was another one talking about, the tide going out, just pulling all the ships out to sea. Earnings were pretty good. They were a little low. Guidance in the first half of 2025 was low, and share price is down, right? It went from, it was recently 350 a little while ago. Then it went to 325, and then it was $3. Now share price is about 285. I think Covalon's sitting at around what, 13, 14 expected PDE in 2025, right? So it's been trickling down. It's been trickling down even after a pretty decent earnings. And that's what we're seeing more and more often is, you really need to crush earnings if you want to see share price going up. And Covalon didn't. Still a great company, still like them, but very curious to see what happens with them next, right? I'm a buyer, but dabbling in bit by bit. Bought VersaBank today and MCB. MCB's dividend is higher than my HISA. Yeah, love that. Love VersaBank. Love VersaBank. Don't talk about it enough. It's not really a microcap stock, but that is a Canadian bank that's expanding into the U.S. markets. I should talk about it more. Great company, great opportunity. Really like VersaBank. Really like McCoy Global, MCB, but of course higher risk because this is, what are they at? $50 million market cap, something like that. We need their Smart TR product to actually execute. A lot of things need to go right for MCB, but yeah, good balance sheet, great balance sheet, and a lot of potential in MCB too. Just a little bit higher risks, right? But yeah, really like VersaBank. And as far as dabbling, man, am I ever guilty of that? So I recently did a live stream in my Patreon Discord talking about when I buy stocks or how I build a position in a stock. And I recently made a live stream in my Patreon Discord talking about when I take profit in a stock. And I think what most people were surprised at is I don't do large buys and I don't do large sells either. I'm the type of investor, due to anxiety, what I've figured out for myself is that I buy small pieces of a stock, and then if they continue to execute, I just keep adding small pieces over and over and over and over. So where somebody might buy once or twice in a year, I might buy a stock once or twice per week. That's just the way my strategy is, right? And then in a bad market condition, or if a company isn't executing, I never get nervous. I never worry about selling 100% because I typically don't. I dabble my way out. If the company's not executing, every time they do something I don't like, I just sell a little piece. Market's getting worse, macroeconomic conditions getting worse. I sell a little bit more. And so dabbling is basically my investing strategy of common sense investing. And I don't think it's what a lot of new investors expect. I think a lot of new investors expect that, myself and other investors commit 100% to a stock on day one and, don't sell for a decade and then sell 100% of the stock when it's time to retire. Not me. I don't know what other people do, right? But I'm a dabbler. The ADF group is going even lower. Crazy. Yeah. Well, we knew it would happen. When ADF dropped and we said, I joked around, like ADF group has a nuclear war priced into the share price. And, knock on wood, hopefully I'm not causing anything here. But yeah, ADF group has every possible bad thing that could go wrong built into their share price. And still it's going lower. And that's just the way it is, right? Everybody has a plan. Not a lot of investors stick to the plan. And, again, with this whole 25% tariff threat thrown out by Trump across the board in Canada, as well as, people expect that ADF Group February is usually one of those months where the company announces new contracts, and it's February 24th. They haven't announced new contracts. So every day ADF Group's probably going to trickle a little lower, even though it's, ridiculously cheap right now and has been cheap since, probably since it crossed below about $15. It's been cheap. Now it's below 8. So yeah, if I followed CanSlim to a T, I think I would have bought in and sold ADF Group 5 times. I've just been holding. Yeah, look, I like CanSlim and Coffee Can. Depends what your strategy is. And it's definitely not a CanSlim stock, that's for sure. No stock right now is a CanSlim stock. Today, you're looking for macroeconomic consistency, a bull market. I mean, I think, even though we don't now know how long this drawdown will be, we're definitely in a drawdown. So, that bull market of 2024, is it over? It's been about 2 months, right? And not a lot of stocks are up. So is 2 months long enough to say the bull market is over? If you're looking at following CanSlim to a T, I would suggest that a lot of CanSlim investors are cashing up. Nothing wrong with cashing up, waiting for a good opportunity. The real question is, what is that opportunity? Again, cannabis, gold, selling shovels into gold again. Wouldn't that be great? What's going to happen there, right? All of Canada boycott the USA for 3 months and the orange dumbbell would change tune. I don't think so. I don't think people understand. A lot of people get very emotional about this, and you can't let emotions affect your investing decisions. Take emotion out of it. I know people are supercharged, hating Trump, not hating Trump, loving Trump, whatever your stance is. One of the things that Donald Trump wanted was to get more companies investing into the United States instead of other countries. And that is working for him. That is working for him over and over and over. All I do is I look at stocks, I research stocks, and I follow the stock market. It's my passion. It's my hobby. I do it every day. And over, I'm seeing more and more companies from all over the world, including Canada, expanding into the United States, investing into the United States, moving to the United States. Right now, Donald Trump is getting exactly what he wanted. And you'd have to really work hard to try to convince me otherwise, because I know people will argue and pull emotion into it, and it's failing, and this isn't going to work long term, and what an asshole, and blah, blah, blah. Just not going to happen. Like, as far as all of Canada boycotting the United States for 3 months, it's not even possible, because when I go to the grocery store and all of the Canadian products are regular price, and then all of the American products are on sale. Grocery stores are doing this. What do you think people are at in Canada right now with their economic position, right? People are losing their jobs. Unemployment's going up. Inflation has been going up. They haven't been getting a pay raise. There's not a very good economic climate in Canada. I can't fault people in Canada going to the grocery store and buying U.S. products because it's 25% cheaper than the Canadian counterpart. I can't fault people for that, right? It's impossible to just boycott U.S. products. It's not going to happen. It's typically people that, the upper end of people with money who say those things. But the reality is Donald Trump has been getting what he wants, and we're never going to be able to boycott the United States. It doesn't not going to happen. We're not joining the European Union. We're not leaving the longest unprotected border and just saying we don't need you anymore. You need to take emotion out of it. And if you're going to be investing, you really have to look at it. Just be mean. Just be critical of everything, right? I was right about AEP Atlas about a year ago saying it might be too early. Yeah, I hate to say it. Atlas Engineered Products, love the company. It's great. It's a home building company. They build prefabricated portions of housing. And yes, I've had construction people on my channel saying that it's not good because the quality isn't as good as just building a home from scratch using lumber. I understand that. But if Canada needs housing quickly, then Atlas Engineered Products is the company that is there to do that. But again, what did I just talk about? You got to remove emotion out of investing. And the problem with some of these companies, I love Atlas. I love their CEO. So did a lot of investors. And that love that, this company is great. Their CEO is great. They've got fantastic plans. That drove the share price up a little bit too high, too quickly. When all the data, I've been talking about this for a year now, all the data was that housing starts were going down and the company share price was going up. It did not make sense to me. So please, don't throw AEP in the garbage. It's still a great company. I still love the CEO, and it will change. Eventually, election in Canada, new government, potentially less regulation. At some point, Canada is going to need housing starts to go up. It's a mathematical 100% guarantee. If we don't get that, we're in a lot of trouble. At some point, Atlas Engineered Products will have their time in the sun again when housing starts are shooting to the moon in Canada. And this will be a great company and a great stock. But yeah, people fall in love with these things. People bring in a lot of emotion into stocks. And that's great if you're trading. If you're trading, you love that emotion. You're riding the wave up. You're selling the wave down, right? But when you're long-term investing, you really got to look at the data, right? HLF, never heard of it. Beaten twice, quarters in a row, where earnings were almost double. Maybe I could take a look at it, but I'm also looking at all those Planet Microcap Vegas stocks. So I understand what you're saying, but you can buy different categories that are largely made in Canada. Eat apples instead of oranges. Yeah, sure, that's a possibility. But again, it comes down to price and whether people do it and how long people do it for. It is making a difference. You will see that in earnings in Canada that I think you're going to see. I read an article the other day that Canadian small business has actually been benefiting from this because more people are willing to shop Canadian small business now and pay a little bit more for Canadian products. I think that's a wonderful thing. They're also discussing about bringing all those tariffs and trade walls down from province to province so we can actually buy our own Canadian products in Canada. That's another wonderful thing. But realistically, long term, is buying apples instead of oranges going to stop Donald Trump? No, it's I think it's something we should be doing as Canadians, but I don't think it's going to stop Trump. He's getting what he wants. I'm telling you right now. And until that changes, until something happens on that front, it doesn't stop. And it's tough. You're welcome. Over an hour into this live stream, I think I'm done. I've taken a break already for questions, so I'm not going to take another one. Good luck. I hope next week we meet again Monday. Everything's up again. This was just another buy the dip opportunity. Nothing to worry about here. That'd be fantastic, right? We're all here to make money, but I've had a great discussion, a great live stream. We have to be realistic talking about the potential downside risk and the potential rewards. And I hope I've done a good job of pointing out a little bit of both to you today. And I really appreciate the thumbs up on the video so more people can see it. And for all the people that commented and created a little bit of engagement, great conversation, great discussion. Really appreciate your time. You could be anywhere and you're here watching Common Sense Investing for an hour. So really humbling, and thank you. I'll see you again next Monday. Probably have 1 or 2 more videos coming out this week.